Magic.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning in to Mad Magic once again with our core show of one to buy, one to sell, and now one to speculate. By the way, I want to mention that we just dropped the other day a quick eBay video on a graded Invoke Prejudice, just 5 minutes long, and it's kind of messed up. I don't want to give you too many spoilers, so search for that one on YouTube. So, Thallid, how you doing?
Hola. Yeah, for those that aren't educated with the Spanish, that is Spanish for hello.
Dogs to the layperson.
Today, instead of the one to buy, one to sell, and one to speculate, you told me you wanted two to buy, which I think is horse shit. It's supposed to be one. And you're like, I want two. It's like, all right. And you're like a fucking 8-year-old kid.
The first card I want to talk about is Lake of the Dead.
Huh. Lake of the Dead. So this is our first one to buy, you're saying?
Yep, first card to buy, Lake of the Dead.
I love this card. This is from Alliances, which was our first new set that came out back in the day off of the previous, like, several sucky sets of, like, Fallen Empires and Homelands and everything else. And Alliance came out, and there was a lot of power. And Lake of the Dead is a land, and when it comes into play, you got to sacrifice a swamp for it to stay into play, but it adds a swamp. Reserve list card. Why do you like this thing for people to buy?
It's a very powerful card. Back in the day, I remember it was an integral part in a deck called Lake Drain, Necropotence deck. You tap it, sack a swamp, add 4 black to your mana pool. Obviously, you're tapping your swamp on its way out, so you're essentially getting 5 mana. So you were able to add 5 mana to your mana pool for that extra drain life power for your Necropotence. However, today, it's really used in predominantly black commander decks. Crick, Son of Yawgmoth is a deck, for instance, that it would be very good in.
With its pricing, because you're saying to buy, you know, like the secret's out on this thing. Like, we've all known it's a good card for a long time. It's high back, of course, in our May-ish of whatever 2021 peak was about $300. So why are you telling people to buy it now?
Yeah, of course, we all know about the Black Swan event that happened, the COVID event that happened in 2020, and we all got the helicopter money. All the prices of Magic cards spiked. It spiked in price to about $300, and it has dropped down to about the $60-$70 level for a near mint copy. And although on MTG Stocks, I believe it reflects a near mint copy at around $80. If you go on TCG Player, you can find near mint or LP Plus copies for a much cheaper bargain. And this card is just going nowhere but north.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting, too, because as we're looking at, and I just changed the graph here on Lake of the Dead, I mean, this thing has been, like, steadily going down, but then now it's like if you look closely, you could see that it's starting to curve up. So might just really be like the bottom on this thing. You know, their deck is now showing 79-ish, about 80 on MTG, but you can just back this up just to December of 23, right? That's not that long ago. It's like $74 and $73. So that might be as cheap as it ever gets. It's a really cool card, too, with artwork and everything else. I really like this one.
Absolutely. And I can point back to a video that we did regarding Bitcoin earlier. And Bitcoin is really starting to spike in price right now. And the bottom of the Bitcoin price is generally the bottom of the price of the Magic cards. And as Bitcoin goes up in price, which is happening currently, the Magic cards are going to spike in price.
A second one that you want to buy. So what else is it that people should try to pick up if they can afford it?
This is the card that was sold out of the trunk of Richard Garfield's car.
Is that true?
Absolutely. Arabian Nights. Arabian Nights was sold out of Richard Garfield's trunk at
Hmm.
one point in time. Elephant Graveyard.
So it's another land, very classic card, obviously reserve list as well. Tap to add 1 colorless mana to your mana pool, or just tap the land to regenerate an elephant or mammoth. So, okay, we've had some decent elephants in the past, but, nothing really that's ever really been like, whoa, so why do you like the elephant graveyard now for people to buy?
I'm absolutely convinced something is coming. We have either an elephant or a mammoth commander that is going to be absolutely amazing, or whether it be on the kitchen table commander environment or the competitive commander environment. And when that happens, this card is going to absolutely explode. And as far as being off of all-time highs, it's way down. So this is the perfect time to pick up a copy of this card.
Again on MTG Stocks, showing big highs of 550, again at our big COVID time. But what is interesting about the graph as a whole is there seems to have been, ever since COVID started, a lot of activity around this card. Where we just looked at Lake of the Dead and it was just sort of almost flatlining. This one is all over the place. And right now, well, let's see, it looked like we about bottomed out at about $300 or so, around Christmas. And then now it does seem to be going up. I'm trying to see this here. It was a little less than that, maybe 235, and then now is about 288 again. So this is the second card now that's starting to show a bit of an uptick.
Well, Mono, what I really wanted to point out with, if you notice on MTG Stocks, and you look at the graph and the more geometric shapes that you see, it represents less liquidity in the card. It means there's less copies of the card that are bought or sold, rather than if you see a parabolic curve or a hyperbolic curve or just a smooth curve. It's because there's less copies of the card that exist. So you've got a copy of a card like Elephant Graveyard. There's only about 19,000, 20,000 copies of the card that have ever been printed and that ever will be printed. And that's why the graph of the card is represented like this on MTG Stocks. Rather than, yeah.
So all you need is $275 for a near mint. Now, you've said in the past, though, that it's really, we're always talking about generally near mint or light play. With something like an Elephant Graveyard that costs a lot more money, that is a few $100 card, reserve list, it's an older card. Is it worth it to pick up a $125, version of the card? I mean, is that still going to help you out, or are these older cards really, is the market and action always for the ones that are in really good condition?
I believe so, absolutely. I believe that eye appeal, as long as the card has good eye appeal, that you're looking at a card that's going to appreciate in price. And you're looking at a card that someone in the future is going to see and say, hey, wow, I really want that for my deck. And so you can pick it up now and you can sell it for profit in the future.
Gotcha. Okay. So now we have 1 to sell. And I'm happy that you're saying that this is a card to sell, because I effing hate this card, that it exists out there. It is so nasty. So
I think everyone does.
Yes. And it's interesting. I've been waiting for you. I have not encouraged you to tell everyone to sell this card, but I've been wondering when this was going to come on your list, because it just seems ripe for MTG, to Cynthia Williams to go, oh, look at that one. That's worth some money. Let's reprint the shit out of it. So, all right, without further ado, which, by the way, I have no idea what that actually means, and everyone always says it. Without further ado, what is your 1 to sell?
Children of the Apocalypse.
Oh, God. On this card.
Area United.
Yeah. And it's not that old, right? So legendary creature, 4 or 5 for 2 black and 2 colorless. It's got death touch. He's so evil. Whenever you draw a card, actually it's a she, I think, if that would count. It's like an insect she thing. I don't know. Whenever you draw a card, you gain 2 life if you're the controller of the card. And whenever an opponent draws a card, they lose 2 life. So I got to imagine that a friendly game of Commander instantly gets like, dude, as soon as someone drops that card on the table.
And this thing is still in print. You're talking about a card that is north of $80 for the absolute least desirable version of the card. It's still in print. And it's going to be in print, and it's going to be playable in the standard environment for 3 years now. And $100 for a card that is in print is absolutely and utterly insane. It's not on the reserve list. This card should not be $100. At one point, the collector's boxes of these cards were available on Amazon on a fire sale for about $100, $110. So if you pull one Shieldred of the Apocalypse, you paid for your box, and everything else is icing on the cake. So this is a card that absolutely and utterly should be sold ASAP.
You're once again looking at MTG Stocks here, and I've got this basically for the life of the card, which was somewhere around what, August, September, late August-ish or whatever of 22, right? So this card is 20 months old kind of thing. And it sort of debuted, right? Like right at 80, 90 bucks right away. And yes, it did go down, and there was a time here where it's, in the 50s. But once again, I'm seeing another card that's trending up. We got these peaks and valleys, but now let me go ahead and get this scrunched for you all so we can see this a little bit more. So now let's hear just over the past several months, it seems like it's a slow curve, just like the other ones, but it looks like it's heading north. But you're saying sell it because in this case, not reserve list card, right? You think that we're going to just get another printing on this guy real soon?
Yeah, without doing like a crazy analysis on the next standard set, Murders at Karloff Manor, this is clearly the best mythic that's available in standard. However, it's available in standard, and it's in print, and it's $100. It has absolutely no rarity. Like, this is not rare. This card is in no way, shape, or form a rare card. And if you could sell this card for $80 to $100, fire away.
Yeah, that makes sense to me, So however many cards are out there, there's continuing to be more and more that are being discovered, right? Because we can just still go and buy another box of these things, pop them all, and see if you nab one. And what's interesting about that is I don't know what Dominaria booster boxes are going for, the draft or set boosters, right? That would be for that. But looking at that now, out of your few dozen packs or whatever, now makes you wonder, because if you get just that card, you've now probably have a profitable box, right? If you pop him now, because you have all the other cards too. And so arbitrage. It's like, what's that?
You've got arbitrage.
Arbitrage.
You can't. Anytime that you are able to achieve arbitrage from purchasing a booster box of Magic cards, that that's not going to last for long. This card is either going to drop in value or the booster box is going to drop in value.
I wonder what the odds would be, though, of pulling one of these per box. Would I have to buy 4 boxes before one of these would show up? Because there are other mythics.
I've seen out of all the booster box openings that I've watched or personally been a part of, I would say 80 to 90% of collector booster boxes feature at least one version of this card.
So you're almost getting one all the time, and that's its own sort of like, while we're saying sell this card, there might be an opportunity, and this is not our one to speculate. We still have that card, but looking at this card thinking, if you wanted to go ahead and go grab 10 collector boosters out of this thing soon, right? You might actually be able to just make a little bit of money if you just wanted to go flip and still have a lot of cards left over.
And as a note, at our local gaming store, Pandemonium Games, that you're familiar with, Dominaria United collector booster boxes were on a fire sale for $50 on Black Friday. So you could have bought. Yeah, right. Yeah, they had 6 to 10 boxes available for $50. And can you imagine that?
Well, yeah, some of our friends got them. I just couldn't drag my ass out of the house to go get them, and I wish I would have. I'm sure they probably still have them. I wonder if the deal's over and they're the same price, or maybe we can go back and be like, so what if it's not Black Friday? I'll pick a bunch of those up off your hands. It's all about a negotiation, I suppose. But that would be its own sidebar, speculate. And something, though, I wanted to mention, because we don't really see that kind of thing happen very often, to have a very common, as you will, $80 to $100 cards sitting in a box that can make buying all these boxes almost a wash. If you're willing to shell off the apocalypse, that one card, you can probably at least break even and be left with all these cards. Okay. So now we have your one to speculate on. And okay. As a reminder to everybody, this is to speculate, right? So you have a rationale for this one, because when you told me what that card was, I was like, all right, like in theory, something could happen. But to date, and this card has now been around for a long time, nothing amazing has happened with this card. So what is it? What do you want to speculate on? What is this card?
I want to roll the dice, and I think it's completely worth rolling the dice on this card. Griffin Canyon.
Griffin Canyon from Visions. Decent set. Had some cards in there that were interesting. Again, it's a land card. Add 1 colorless mana to your mana pool, or tap it to untap a Griffin. And then a Griffin also gets +1/+1 till the end of turn. Now, so far, there have never really been any amazing Griffins. So there's been some good cards that, but nothing like amazing. Why do you want to speculate on this one? Why do you can go pick up 50 of these? Why do you want them?
The exact reason that you would speculate on any other card potential. First of all, the card's got amazing art. I love the art on the card. Secondly, it's a reserve list card. Thirdly, it's real estate. It's land. It comes into play untapped. It adds a colorless mana to your mana pool. And its secondary ability would be amazing if there is ever a Griffin printed that is good in the command zone. And at that point in time, this card is going to be in extremely high demand. And every card that exists named Griffin Canyon has already been printed and will never be printed again.
It's funny, for its first several years of existence, this card was $1. Nobody gave a shit about it. We're, of course, looking at MTG Stocks again here, and I'll scrunch this out. And there it has shown a pulse now as we've gotten here after COVID into 2021. I think what we would need to see is a card that a Griffin that has a cool effect. If you tap it, it does something neat. And then you use this land, which is not legendary, by the way, to keep untapping and do it again and do it again. So I think we need to see a card release that's going to allow a Griffin to do something that, if it was done 3 times in a turn or whatever, would be kind of broken. And if that's the case, then I think we'll see this card go nuts.
Yeah.
Yep. But now, it's trending out. Once again, it's like all-time high. It was about $20, and then coming down here more towards today, $7-8, right? So it's at a good speculate price. And I would say that I think if you're going to pick ones to speculate on, Thallid, that you can't be picking $90 cards. If we need to speculate, we need a volume. So I'd say maybe every once in a while be above $10, but I think for the most part, keep the card under $10 that you want to go speculate on, so you can get a lot of them, right? Like leeches that you did previously. I now have 10 copies of that thing because they were $2, $1.50 to $2.50 a piece. Sure. Right? Let's go spend $25 and see what happens if something ever comes out with that. And then it becomes a $50 card, right? That'll be sweet.
Yeah, especially if you can redeem the card for at a buy list price for the price that you're purchasing at, or extremely close to the price that you're purchasing at, because you're taking little to no risk. So who cares?
Right. Okay. So that's our 2 to buy, 1 to sell, and 1 to speculate on. And before we go, we just want to mention to everybody that, because we need it on record somewhere, that our winner from our card giveaway has not contacted us. And we're only going to give him like another week or 2 maybe. And then we're going to pick somebody new. What's that?
Daniel Lee.
Yes.
Lee.
Paging Daniel Lee. Why can't I find Amanda Daniel Lee? So, right, Amanda, love me. So in a couple of weeks, if we don't get anything, we'll make another announcement about this, and then we'll pick somebody new. So if you've subscribed to us, thank you very much. Please stay with that, and there might be a second bite at that apple for that Alpha Merfolk of the Pearl Trident and the foil lands and all other stuff that was in there. We'll show them all again if we do it. But Daniel, they're your cards for today, but we're not just going to keep them. You got to get in touch with us. So everybody else, by the way, when we do this, the subscribing thing, you got to make a setting in YouTube to like show your email address or something. Pick a way for us to contact you. Because right now I'm using like a carrier pigeon. It's not working. Daniel's not responded. So yes, make sure that you have something in your profile. It's not all hidden, that you can, right, that we can get to. And if you're like, well, I don't want my watch history or anything else because all I do is watch Victoria's Secret runway shows, A, we're not judging you. And B, pick another account then, right? Give us another account that you don't mind having an email on, or, post something in the thread of how we get in touch with you, because there's no spammers hunting for your stuff on YouTube or any social media account.
Remember, too, anyone who is basically just don't for those that
Magic.